Hi everyone, welcome to another Hatton's Model Railways live stream, and today we're covering some really exciting new announcements from Heljan, who have recently released their 2021 catalogue, which you can pick up from us right now. It contains all the details on their previously announced projects which have been coming through, scheduled for release in 00, O gauge and 009 gauge 2 throughout 2021 and into 2022. So it's a full colour catalogue that you can pick up. But as part of this, there was quite a few previously unannounced projects that featured within this catalogue too. So this morning, we're going to cover all of those new announcements across the different scales, tell you exactly what you have in store from those brand new releases, the liveries that are coming through, the locomotives that are being portrayed too, and some of the great reasons to get them into your collections and get them onto your layouts too. So if you'd like to take a closer look at any of the items I covered today, head over to the link in the description for a little bit more information on these items, and of course the pre-order prices and expected release dates in there too. Let's get started with Steam. Let's start off with a 00 gauge locomotive, which has been out of Heljan's catalogue for quite a few years, but as part of this 2021 release schedule, we see it coming back in quite a few new variations too. This is the Heljan 02 Tango locomotive, originally built by the Great Northern Railway, designed and built from 1921 onwards. This locomotive was in Heljan's range around 5 or 6 years ago now, but it's making a return with a couple of slight differences. The version that we see here in the LNER Black is one of the original release. This is the later style locomotive with the London North Eastern Railway style cab and tender. What we've been promised by Heljan for this latest release is a return to the original style of the locomotives. So as you see here on the screen now, you will see the original Great Northern Railway colour scheme from the final days of the pre-grouping era. If you remember back to our original image there, you'll see this has the original sloped side cab from the Great Northern Railway locomotives and the Great Northern style tender there too, with the fluted sides. So even though it is a remake of that original model, at the same time, it's going to be a fantastic re-release with some further options in there too. And as part of this catalogue, Heljan have announced no less than 12 different variations for this locomotive, covering both the 02-1 and the 02-2 subclasses. So for those of you who want the original style pre-grouping locomotive, that is in there to pre-order in this original early 1920s colour scheme that we see here. We go right through to the London North Eastern Railway colours, again sticking with the original Great Northern style cab and tender. There are 2 different variations of that cab that Heljan are covering. And for those of you who missed out the first time round, they are doing some re-releases of the later versions with the London North Eastern Railway cab and tender styles too. So in whatever condition you want one of these locomotives, even right up to the end of Steam, as we see here with the withdrawal as late as 1963, you've still got those original Great Northern style features on these locomotives, and you can pick up one of these models coming through in late 2021. As you've mentioned there in the chat, another great comment about these by IDK13. You've also got the angled cylinders, which are different, and there's a number of smaller differences too between the later and the earlier style locomotives, and Heljan have shown an initial CAD image that we see here of the earlier style loco design, showing some of those different changes which will be incorporated into the model. We can see the original style cab, the original style tender, and as you mentioned there previously, those angled cylinders on this locomotive too. So something to really look forward to. It's not that often we see a heavy freight London North Eastern Railway locomotive come through. We've had some great models over the years though, with the likes of the Bachmann GCR Robinson 280s. But this Heljan locomotive with its fully die-cast chassis, you've got a 21-pin decoder socket in there and space for a digital sound speaker too. So if you really need a heavy freight locomotive for running up and down the East Coast main line alongside your Pacific locomotives such as your A3s and A4s, which these did cross with quite often, heading up and down the east coast of England on different services. You can pick one of these up. A full list of which models are coming through in which liveries with the running numbers is available right now in the description, and there will be weathered variations of these locomotives too. As you can see here, they didn't stay clean for long, really, handling weathered heavy coal trains running down the east coast of the UK. So a really grimy version in quite a few different colour schemes. I believe off the top of my head, there's 3 or 4 different weathered versions coming through of this batch of releases. Again, if you want to see the exact information, we've got it available right down there for you now, which will take you through to our latest news page. And these start on pre-order prices at £169.15. So if you are tempted by one, head over to the link in the description and keep your eyes on the page too. As soon as we see engineering prototypes and weather decorated samples, we'll be featuring them on our webpage, and I'm sure we'll get them on a video too for you. We'll certainly do that. So we'll go from the LNER Class 02 to the BR Class 02. And it is something that looks a little bit different. This is a diesel shunter built by the Yorkshire Engine Company in real life, built from 1960 to 1961. Little bit of a smaller shunter than most you see out there on the UK network. These mainly concentrated in the northwest of England, running through until about the mid-1970s. But around 50 or 60 more of them were built for different purposes across the UK, being worked at industrial sites, steel mills, etc., etc. So a really popular little shunter design, mainly replacing smaller dockside locomotives such as the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway pugs up in the northwest of England. I quite like these O2s because they do have quite a difference to some of the other shunting locomotives. If we look at the back there, we can see that it's actually a rear entrance to the cab. So very similar to any US viewers who are watching today. We've got the US style switcher entrance to this, where you'd enter via the rear of the cab rather than the sides. And this gives for a great cab interior there as well, which Heljan have promised will have full internal lighting. You'll have full directional lighting controllable on analog and digital. And Heljan have announced this previously in O gauge, and this is the O gauge release, which are both being developed and brought through at the same time. So something we can really look forward to there. Again, quite a few different liveries covering the lifespans of the class, with the original style BR green with the wasp stripes, with either the red or the yellow buffer beams on the front. Some of the locos did get slightly different fronts there. And again, have a quick look at a photo you've seen or take some prototype inspiration from which one you'd like. 1 or 2 of these have carried blue in preservation, and this is a livery that's been recreated too, as well as a real rarity, which is green with the 1970s style tops numbering, which a number of these locomotives did carry in the mid-1970s. But that's not all. You are also getting some industrial liveries in there too, with some of the yellow colour schemes and indeed the Redland Roadstone khaki version, which lasted until the mid-1990s on a locomotive that worked in the East Midlands. So you don't only have to be a BR modeller to be able to enjoy one of these Class 02 locomotives. So at the moment, we've got nothing to show apart from prototype pictures. Heljan are working away quite steadily at producing the CAD for this different design. I think you've summed it up there, James. It is an absolutely fantastic looking locomotive. It'll build on Heljan's success with the likes of the Class 05 and Class 07 shunters that they've already brought through in fantastic model form in O gauge. You can pre-order one of these right now. We've been promised them so far in early 2022, and you can check out the full liveries and the specifications of what's available if you head over to that link in the description, and the prices start at £126.65. So let's stick with that shunter theme. Let's go for another shunter while we're on a roll with them. And let's head over to the Ruston 165. Named after the 165 horsepower that it's capable of, this standardised Ruston design was used for British Rail, with 5 locomotives being bought for departmental use. These particular variations that are being released cover the industrial versions of these locomotives, with 2 of this brand new tooling being announced as part of the Heljan 2021 catalogue. So these are coming through. We've got a fantastic looking first engineering prototype to show you here today, with both sides of the locomotives covered. Again, building on Heljan's previous form and success with the Class 05s and the Class 07s in double O gauge. So this is a double O gauge release to start off with. You've got fully working headlights and directional lights on there too. You have an 18-pin digital decoder socket and space for a sugar cube speaker in there too. And again, we've been promised all the bells and whistles that we'd expect, including interior lighting and a wealth of detail with separately fitted handrails, as you can see there, and some etched parts, including the tops of the running plates. So again, looking like another fantastic model on the way from Heljan. Whilst a number of these locos did work for British Railways, we'll have the industrial versions of these locomotives available to order, and there's 2 of those that you can pick from initially. There may be more to follow in the future. So we have a National Co-Board loco, which would look fantastic alongside your austerity steam locomotives, or maybe your Janus diesel shunters that you already have. And then we have a traditional yellow locomotive there too, a livery carried by many of these locomotives working through industry right from the 1950s when they were first introduced up until the 1990s, and 2 of the British Rail locos surviving into preservation too. So if you want to take a closer look at those images, I'll put them on the screen for you again, but we've got these in really high definition on our website. So if you really want to see some of those details as close up as you can, head over to the website. Again, click that link in the description. We've got these available to pre-order right now in the 2 liveries mentioned, and we're expecting these towards the end of summer 2021 at the moment. So keep an eye on those coming through. So let's move up a little bit. Let's head over to O gauge now. We've stuck with double O gauge for a while, and we can head bigger for you guys who are absolutely huge fans of the growing market that Heljan are bringing through in O gauge. There's some fantastic locos coming through. I can see already in the chat, there's a lot of you asking there, including updates on the forthcoming locos such as the Class 60s, which should be expected with us in late summer 2021. But I'm sure you want something to run these locos with. You need something to pair them with on your layout. And what better than a brand new model of the LMS BR style inspection saloon? These get everywhere. By their purpose, by exactly what they are an inspection saloon, basically. They run across the network, propelled and pulled on their own by a single locomotive, used to inspect the railways, used to inspect the rail conditions on the track out there. So you can see them in pretty much every corner of the country. This particular design was developed by the London Midland Scottish Railway in the 1930s and still sees use on a couple of occasions right up to the current day. So some great opportunities here, whichever era you model. If you're a Heljan O gauge collector, you've already got a great amount of diesels that you can pair these saloons with. Here you've got a Class 47 on the rear of this particular vehicle, but don't forget, it's not just diesels that these ran with. With them being built in the 1930s, they initially came into service in the London Midland Scottish Railway Crimson Lake colour scheme, and then headed through to BR Blood and Custard, BR Maroon, before they headed into our traditional diesel liveries. So maybe you've got a steam locomotive in O gauge, a kit-built model, or you've picked up a ready-to-run model from ourselves, from the likes of Dapol or Heljan, and you can see here on the screen right now, there's some great opportunities to pair up some of the pairings you might not expect with an inspection saloon, as you see here. So that is the BR Maroon livery that you see there. There's quite a few of these in preservation too, as Thomas has mentioned there in the chat. You can still catch these out there, and in some cases you can travel in them too. They have now been prepared as luxury observation cars. And indeed, some of these vehicles were used for those purposes in the 1980s and 1990s. So heading through some of the liveries, we've got the blue and grey coming through, which is no doubt one of the most popular that we're going to be having come in. Used from the 1970s right through to the late 1980s with pretty much every type of diesel locomotive you can imagine. And then just to put one of the modern colour schemes in there, this is English, Welsh and Scottish Railway, used again for exactly the same purposes, but this time in the late 1990s and early 2000s. There's also other liveries coming through there, such as Load Haul. And another great opportunity with these is a lot of the classic liveries were reinstated in the 1980s and 1990s with a bit of a modern twist. So if you head over to the link in the description, you'll see some of the older liveries described as heritage liveries, and they are the ones that made a return to the railways. There was a London Midland Scottish Railway saloon running around in the 1990s, for example. So if you want to get some classic liveries onto your modern image O-gauge railway, this is a great opportunity to do it. As with the O2s, this is an announcement stage at the moment. So Heljan are beavering away at making the CAD design and, of course, then making the initial prototype samples from that too. So all I've got to show you today is some of the prototype images of these saloons. But there are 11 different variations of these coming through, and that shows you just how different and distinct these different vehicles get. They're all pre-orderable right now. We have an estimated price on this at the moment of £240, and that may change once the RRP is confirmed, but make sure you get your pre-order in or at least register an interest. And as soon as we know the confirmed price there, we will get in touch with you to let you know what that is. But we have been promised a great amount of spec on these models. They will have interior lighting. They'll have a 21-pin digital decoder socket to control that. If you wanted to, you could even put a sound decoder in there to control the horn sounds that these carriages do, as they have driving cabs. You can just see there at the end, you can drive the locomotives from these cabs, but they will be unpowered models as per real life. So we've got 11 of those available to pre-order right now. If you are tempted, if you'd like to have a look at some of the other liveries that we have available, or you want to find out a little bit more info, head over to that link in the description for a little more information. So let's go back to 00. Now I've kept you guys waiting for a little while whilst we covered the O-gauge there, but we can still have something very exciting to show you today. And this is a highly demanded return for the cargo wagons, not only in the covered versions as we see here, but this is one that's been waited for a while. It's the open versions too. It's been about 8 to 9 years since these have been in the catalogue. The flat wagon version brought in for use on British Rail in the late 1970s, and quite a number of these are still in use today too. At the time when they were brought in, they were unlike pretty much any wagon that was out there on the network, having more in common with the modern vehicles we see today, with their air brakes, square buffers, and of course the huge wheelbase on these too. The length of these wagons was really different to the small four-wheel goods wagons which were prominent on the railways during this period. So it's fantastic to see these coming back to the range after quite some time. They're certainly sought after by collectors out there, and they really are rarities. So if you've been after some of these for your collection and you've been scouring every corner of the internet or the collectors shows out there, certainly not in 2020, but maybe in years before, these are now coming back, so you're able to obtain quite a few of these for a rake. So we're seeing some fantastic liveries coming back through there. Some of the most popular ones, including the cargo wagon style and the chorus steel liveries from the 1980s and 1990s. Some of these will come with optional loads too. We've got the pipe load at the top, and for the first time you will be getting a timber load too that you can use for the timber traffic which runs from Scotland down to North Wales, which uses these particular wagons. And for the first time, we are getting the barrier vehicle version of these two in the Rail Venture livery. This is going to be a twin pack of models that's coming through, and these are used to transfer brand new electrical multiple units, which don't quite have the same couplings as the locomotives they work with, to be moved across the UK to enter service. You can use one of these vehicles at either end to be able to transfer your multiple units. So if you want to model electric multiple units on your layout, but you don't want the costly expense, or indeed you don't have the time to put down the overhead wires or the third rail electric system, you can still have an electrical multiple unit being moved by a locomotive on your layout by using these barrier wagons. So we've got these flat wagons available to pre-order now. If you want to head over to our site, we've got a full list again there. There's 12 different variations of these coming through, weathered variations and clean versions with and without loads. So quite a good mix there of the different types. They start at £50.96. So take a bit of a look over there if you want to see some more information. But let's head over to the loaded versions, the covered versions that we mentioned previously too. These appeared in Heljan's range right back in summer 2020, so not too far ago. We saw some brand new releases of these and they flew off our shelves. I don't think anyone quite anticipated the demand that these wagons would have. And Heljan have responded to that by really quickly turning around some new designs for these vehicles, some new liveries and some old favourites too, which are returning in the summer of 2021. So again, we've got all the information down there. If you check out our latest news page, we've got the liveries that you see on the screen here now with these particular models. We've got some new liveries coming through too with the Colas Rail and Tarmac branded vehicles, alongside some of the old favourites such as Blue Circle Cement with its distinctive yellow colour scheme there. Both of these wagons, the flat and the covered version of the cargo wagons, come with NEM pockets and couplings on there too. You've got a great amount of detail on the ends of these particular vehicles and some really well tooled up bogies on there too. You'll also find that they've got a good bit of weight in them and they are really free running, so you can have a really long train of one of these on a block freight service, maybe with those timber loads on a service coming down from Scotland into North Wales, or you can use the cargo wagons as part of shorter speed link trains, especially if you're modelling the 1980s and 1990s. The covered wagons start at £42.46, and again, we've got all the information on our website, so feel free to head over there for a closer look. So that's the new announcements out of the way, but that's not the sole purpose of this catalogue. It also provides us some fantastic updates on forthcoming releases, which I've seen in the chat. So many of you are already really excited to see these coming through. I've put just 2 on the screen here today, but this is a small amount of what Heljan's got coming through in many different scales at the moment. Some of the next models that we're going to be seeing from them are the Class 86 Zeros, the as-built Class 86 overhead electric locomotives in 00 gauge. These are coming through in February and you can pre-order them right now. We've got all the decorated sample images on our website if you want to pick from the different liveries there. And below that, for you steam lovers out there, we've got the final piece of the jigsaw for you Linton and Barnstaple modelers who've already picked up Heljan's fantastic Manning Wardle locomotives. This is the last locomotive, the Sol Baldwin 242 design in 009 gauge. And then you can have every single Linton and Barnstaple locomotive ever built in real life in model form. So there's 6 variations of Lin coming through into stock, again expected in around February time, and we have got some decorated sample images on our website. And the catalogue, the physical catalogue, includes details on all of those releases. You'll also find the information on our site, but the catalogue itself is a great thing to flick through, especially over the Christmas period, heading towards New Year, which we're coming into at the moment. You can really soak up some of the different models and designs that Heljan are bringing through over the next 18 months or so. If you do want a full list, you can pick up the catalogue right now. You can order it from us for £3 and we can still get that out to you in time for Christmas if you're in the UK and you're on certain postage methods. So head over to the website now if you want to check out a little bit more. But of course, we've got all the latest news on our website too. We've just updated every single Heljan release date too with the information they've just provided us. So all the release dates you see on these specific products are the latest information provided to us from Heljan. So if there's not a model I've covered today that you wanted to find out more about, this specific release, feel free to put a comment on the video. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions there. Or get in touch with our customer experience team who can always let you know the latest information and some of the great options with deliveries, running numbers and different toolings that are out there too. But do check out our website listings as the website always has the latest information we have there too. So we'll just do a very quick recap of those brand new announcements as part of the 2021 catalogue. And don't forget that this is just a small slice of what Heljan is bringing through at the moment. And we have information on every single forthcoming model as part of Heljan's range on our website right now. We've got, again, the Ruston 165 Shunter in double O gauge. The re-release with the partial retool of the O2 Tango to cover the original Great Northern version from 1921. Class 02 has now got liveries announced covering BR green, blue and industrial colour schemes in double O gauge, due in early 2022. Flat cargo wagons and covered cargo wagons coming back, really popular releases there. Make sure you get your pre-orders in for those if the selling out very quick of the wagons this summer was anything to go by. And finally, those inspection saloons again, covering the diesel, blue diesel era, steam era, and a modern image era there, coming through in 2022 in O gauge. So nice big saloon to finish off our session today. So I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I'm really excited to see all of these models come through, and we'll always have the latest news on our website too. So as soon as we start seeing engineering prototypes, decorated samples, etc., make sure to stay tuned to the latest news page on our website. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and our Facebook page so you don't miss any of the latest model railway news too. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If there's any more Heljan releases you'd like to know a little bit more about, don't hesitate to get in touch with our team via phone, live chat or email, or of course, leave a comment on the video and we'll answer your questions there too. Otherwise, thanks again for watching and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.